Hey everybody, this is Lethal 3. We're doing a brief recording to kind of give a general demo tutorial of Mortal Shell from the Mortal Shell test preview beta. So right now we're actually in what would be considered, I guess, New Game Plus. Now, from what I've noticed, the difficulty did not go up, but when you do finish the preview, it does give you the opportunity to go to play through again and keep all your gear and whatnot. So right now we're utilizing a weapon and shell. Which is essentially our character at the moment, from the second half of this preview. But we'll explain all that as we progress. And I'm going to kind of cover everything in the preview and just some items and how things work in the game. So we'll start with the general menu here. So over the course of the game, you're going to collect various items. And as you can see, each one of these items has a familiarity. So some of the items, or all the items for that matter, realistically, don't tell you all the details on the item until you increase the familiarity by utilizing that item multiple times. Some require a few, some some a lot, and then you'll get additional information as well as additional benefits. So as you can see here, this deals 40 poison damage over 16 seconds. However, once you become familiar with this item, those familiar gain immunity to poison damage for 120 seconds. So that's the point where it's a negative until it becomes a positive kind of situation. Things like that. Here's another example: regenerate 40 health over 60 seconds. Those familiar consume no stamina on their next dodge. So things like that kind of become accessible as you utilize that particular item more and more, which is a pretty cool feature. So like a regular Souls or Souls-like, you have the quick use menu. You can put an item there. Things like that. So you can kind of take like a consumable there. Grants a minuscule amount of tar when consumed, so that's essentially your souls in this particular game. So there's the same thing, like crushable soul kind of consumables, like any Souls game that's out there. So from this menu you can see a couple things. So we'll go here and hit R1. We'll drop into our current shells. So there's a few shells that aren't in the preview, but basically your shell is essentially the outside of your character and its general build. So what I mean by that is when you change your shell, underneath you're a very weak, kind of squishy individual, and you wear various shells that are unlocked that are essentially your build. So if I go ahead and check out this one, this is the shell that you would start the game with right here. As you can see, it's pretty balanced across the board between durability, stamina, and resolve. Resolve is like a special kind of ability, for like reposts and things like that, which that's something I've got to look further into. I haven't really used too much in that. And there's some special like L1R1 attacks and things like that can use resolve as well. And you can go ahead and look at your skill tree. So I've unlocked these particular skills. So these skills right here are specific to this shell. So if you're only going to be utilizing, say, one shell, definitely level up things that are corresponding to that shell. So as you can see, harden cooldown reduced. For a short time after hardening, enemies killed have a chance to drop an additional glimpse. When you do level ups, you need so many of the tar, or souls, if you will, as well as glimpse and things like that to kind of unlock these additional abilities. Not only so many are unlocked right now during the preview, as you can see, these ones here are all closed out for the demo. But anyhow, picking up glimpse has a chance to restore some health. That's pretty good. What's the other one here? Hardening lasts for twice as long upon being broken. Things like that. And when you first get the vessel, essentially, or the shell, you don't know the name of it. It's unknown, unnamed, and you have to unlock it by paying for this centerpiece here. That's where you're trying to get the information, the backstory. So it's almost like you're finding a warrior from history, and you're essentially wearing them as a coat, kind of, which is pretty interesting. So if I were to go ahead and back out here, go ahead and check out the current shell we have on. So you'll get this in the second half of the preview. I'm not sure how much the actual preview is tied into the game's progression, or if it's kind of a unique progression specifically for the preview. But as you see, we lose a little bit of durability here, a little bit of resolve, and we gain considerable stamina. So I usually run with this guy, and I go with the kind of dual wield type weapon here, because it's pretty good on DPS. Whereas the weapon you'd usually start off with is a heavy weapon, which we can switch back to in a minute here when we get to that point in time in the preview, and I'll demonstrate that. So again, we can go into our abilities. You can see the ones that are available. And this guy has some really cool abilities. Gain damage bonus when low on stamina. So when you're going in there, going on DPS, you're spamming your stagger lock on an enemy. As the stamina decreases, your damage is going up, right? So that's a fantastic combination. You know, gains a 20% chance to lose stamina instead of health on taking damage. So even though you are a little squishier with this particular guy from a durability standpoint, it's pretty fantastic that kind of can kind of alleviate some of that issue. And the stamina is so much higher with this enemy; it's still not even an issue. On empowered repost, Teal will sometimes release a poisonous cloud. So if I get a good repost off of a parry, you know, I can get a poof of poison cloud, which is pretty cool. And taking poison damage heals Teal for a portion of the damage which would have been dealt, which is pretty awesome. So basically I can become poisoned and heal myself. So you can actually intentionally be poisoned in certain areas as a strategic means of progression. So far it's really cool how this kind of alters your build. So you're not really stuck with one build throughout the game. You could always bounce around and have, you know, situational kind of strategy. And then as you can see here, these ones are locked off for the demo. So as you go through the game, you're going to have a compendium. It's going to keep track of your various items. Now, so far I've noticed there is a difference in familiarity here from the compendium relative to my inventory. I'm not sure if that's like a bug or something based on going through the NG cycles here. We went through a few cycles to kind of level things up. But they'll give you all the details you unlock, and you can kind of see your key items and things like that. So that right there was the weapon you usually start with. Pretty heavy hitter, but it uses a lot of stamina. It's definitely slower. And we're currently using this hammer and chisel combo, you know. The large bolt, I'm not sure if that, I think that was specifically used just kind of as an upgrade material. I'm not 100% sure because it's not a weapon that I've had access to. So I believe it was a upgrade material, which I'll show you in a bit when we get to that point. But yeah, so there's quite a few different weapon items here. We can kind of go through and see some of the various things. You know, but let's see here. Damage taken while hardened is converted to health, you know, things like that. Next parry refunds resolve on success. Next parry lights enemy on fire on success. You know, this is used to like aggro enemies, things like that, which is pretty cool. Regenerate health, you know, deals 40 points. We already talked about that one. You know, so on and so forth. So there's quite a few different items in here. We could go through them on an individual case-by-case basis if people have questions. You know, so that's an option. So you have various tutorials, which are pretty cool. So as you progress through the game, you unlock additional abilities. It's going to say, hey, this is how you do this. This is how you do this. The preview does start with a tutorial area, but the NG Plus cycle starts you just after that tutorial area. For the preview standpoint, anyhow. So it's pretty cool. You can harden your body. It's like a shell to stop damage, but it's broken, you know, on damage impact, things like that. So it's pretty cool. You can kind of land like a shot and harden. If, say, you want to hit one enemy and another enemy is in mid-swing, so you stagger the one enemy, drop into the harden, you know, kind of deflect on the other enemy, come back out, go back into your swings, things like that, you know. Let's see here. What can we? So there's your parry. And then yeah, it'll turn red when there's unparryable stuff, which, I mean, I just trying to parry everything for a while, so that's something to pay attention to. So then you get empowered repost, which is the actual legitimate, like, solid repost. Otherwise you'll kind of get like a parry and just knock back, and they might continue the battle, you know, things like that. So it'll slowly you know, show you enough. There's the L1 R1 special attack right there that I was referring to earlier. So yeah, it's pretty cool as you you know, progress. And then of course you have this lore thing that'll keep track of any hidden lore you find along the way, and they hide little things in the game which are pretty cool, similar to like what would be considered illusory walls or something along those lines. So that's the gist of the menu for that standpoint there. We just went through shells, compendium, inventory, and a lot of people wouldn't have even looked really in depth to kind of see what's going on there, so definitely check that stuff out. Keep an eye on things. Since we went through some cycles already, I think 4 or 5 probably, you know, we have everything kind of maxed out in familiarity here. You know, and for the easiest, cheapest use heal item, we're just going to rock out with the roasted rat here. Regenerates 30 health over 25 seconds. And then, you know, those familiar get an additional 10. So it's pretty beneficial. We also have the welt cap. That's a little bit later on. And these bad boys here, the roasted rat, are easy to buy. They're cheap. So you can stock up on them pretty easily. So let's go ahead and look at the game a little bit here. So you have different dodge types depending on which shell you have on. So this one kind of has like a smoke dodge, and for both shells so far it's a quick step, on the first tap, and then it'll go into a roll on the second tap if they're in succession. So as you can see here, you get the succession roll there, kind of get some distance, right? So I like this fast weapon because I can really get a nice stagger lock, and I like this shell because of the massive stamina bar. So combinationally, it's pretty good. So you have the same kind of concepts, you know, holding O or B or whatever, depending on the controller you're using for your sprint. You can also click L3 to activate sprint. However, clicking L3 does not deactivate sprint, so you can tap it again with your O or B to kind of cancel out something like that for a second. But I did recommend that they add a click again to cancel. So as we move into the game here, there's a couple guys over here, so I'll show you some stagger locks. Now our damage is pretty substantial because we have the weapon leveled up rather high. As you can see, we can kind of move things down. There's little traps as well as you go through the game, so we have these little bear traps. You walk into one, there you go. Standard little kind of ankle pinch going on. Not too big a deal. So enemies drop items, you know, so on and so forth. So there we go. You know, remnant of tar, so we can pop that for some additional tar, which is again your soul's item. So they do hide some cool things around the game as well. So as you can see right at the beginning here, they have this breakable, so we'll kind of hop in here. So it's like a mini side boss. And from what I've seen so far, you can get if you hit him twice, he'll kind of go into like a scream kind of animation. Allowing you to move forward, you can kind of get the secondary double hit again. You can kind of get a stagger lock going. Get like 2 in there. See that screech you did? Okay, so that's your being knocked out of your shell right there. So I must have died or been knocked out of my shell a singular time in the previous cycle. So basically the way it works is you're allowed to be knocked out of your shell, and then you can jump back into your shell and your health will go back to full, but if you're knocked out again, that will be your death. So it kind of gives you almost like 2 health bars. And then if you're going to recover your souls, or your tar rather, you have effectively 3 health bars. So I can go in there right now, you know, I can get knocked out. Then I can grab it back to fill back up, and then I can grab my floating for another fill up. So I'll show you what I mean here to demonstrate. But it's a good time to demonstrate that early on, just to show a little bit more of the mechanics and stuff and how that works. So right there you can see that's my souls sitting there, my tar. I hope it's okay that I'm referring to them as souls. It's just kind of a general vernacular. So we're gonna move in here. Get a little stagger lock going. See that scream he does? Get a few hits in. Doesn't scream again. So right there, see how he knocked me out of my shell? We'll finish him off right afterward, but now I can grab it back. Now you see it filled up my health bar. And also it demonstrates I am currently poisoned, and that poison was actually healing me because of the unlockability here. So say I did, you know, recover my shell, and if you get, like I said, if you go down to 0 health again or get low, it's a death. I could then have recovered here to fill my health back up again for a bit here. So we had some items from that. Now I must have hit this in the battle, but this area here, this stone, is actually it's blocked off, so you hit it and it breaks the cover there. And that's how you get an additional item in a little lower action right there. So they hide little things like that. So not only was it a hidden mini boss, but this little script was hidden as well within the stone, and it broke it by impact. And that's something I just discovered in accident. You know, and they do definitely focus on it with the sun here and things like that, but it's not something that's clearly evident otherwise. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. That mini boss is pretty serious, honestly. Like, we just melted him because we have this massive stamina bar and the DPS type weapon. Early on, it's not quite like that. You got to be a lot more strategic. And we are going to do a fresh start character, which we'll upload as well. But for now, we're going to kind of buzz through with this to demonstrate the items and the locations. And this will kind of give the layout of the map as well. Now, there's some bigger enemies in the game you got to watch out for. These guys hit this guy here coming down here. He hits super hard. You can parry, but the parries are tight, honestly. Like, I mean, I've been messing with him, and I think they are pretty consistent. But honestly, you have to be pretty good to realistically land them. And as you can see, the damage output this guy's got is substantial. So as you can see, I missed the parry there, and we've already been knocked out of our shell one time, so that shows it goes into death, like we talked about. So we're gonna go ahead and buzz through here back to that guy. So we'll try to show us a parry or two, and maybe a repost, so you can kind of see that. But as you work on really, you know, perfecting the timing, honestly, it's very tough to pull off consistent parries from what I've seen. And I don't have enough time in yet to say, okay, they're inconsistent, maybe they need to be polished, or they are consistent. I think at this point I would need more practice to really say, okay, we've ruled one thing or the other thing out, right? But I believe they are consistent. It's just a very precise window of opportunity. We're going to leave that there in case we need to grab it for like a health kind of heal for now. Assuming we don't die, just trying to wait for it, but it's a nice way to go about it. So like, as you can see, I can go ahead and come over here and re-grab that there, and there you go. The health, okay. Oh, got knocked out of our shell again. Let's go ahead and grab that. Yeah, I'm not doing too much damage, guys. Not at the moment. Not at all. We'll go ahead and run it again. It could be because I'm recording and running the game at the same time right now. I play from a laptop, so it does struggle a little bit when I'm doing both. So we'll lose a little bit of frames here or there, things like that. But it's a precise window, but it's not quite as tight as it may appear right now. But graphically, the game is pretty decent. The detail's nice. I'd say the textures are pretty good. It's running on the Unreal Engine, I think Unreal 4. Frame rate seems good. I'm not cranking settings or anything like that. You know, I'm not pressing it. You know, it would definitely be more fluid if I was obviously cranking things out a little bit. But well, I could alter my performance settings. But I do up them a little bit when I'm playing this usually, whereas I keep it on the lower end otherwise. So that could be part of my problem as well. There's a parry. However, it was not the repostable option. So we'll have to do a couple dodges. And also we have our pup poison that we talked about earlier. Alright. And an item drops. Let's go ahead and move on. So you're going to come into this area of the map. Now we can go off right or left. This item's kind of spaced around. Certain items are certainly more important than others. Now again, like I'm melting enemies considerably easier than you would on a fresh character. Like it would take around 3 hits in a steady combo. There is a multiplicative kind of advantage of a combo. So if I do like 3 hits back to back out of a stagger, it'll do more than 3 hits. So it would take around 3 hits in a one combo for the heavier weapon. And my stamina bar would be pretty much emptied out at that point. So they hide some items behind things right here. So there's a consumable item to have more star souls. From a challenge run perspective, it's very nice to have the DPS type weapon. Similar to like, you know, Bloodborne or something along those lines, or DS3 using like, you know, twin swords in DS3 or like your Saw Cleaver in Bloodborne, like a very fast DPS type of weapon. Go ahead and grab that item. Alright, you can strategically grab some enemies. So right there we have these two heavy guys again, similar to the one we fought already. We did notice a few ways you can kind of aggro them strategically. Yeah, we'll go ahead and pop on some healing items. We haven't really been using any duration heal. Now, if you use two different healing items, like if I go over to the mushroom, it will cancel out the current one, so it doesn't seem like we can stack them for more rapid healing. But we'll leave that active for now, but I just wanted to demonstrate. So right here, I noticed we can kind of come down here. If you want to aggro one of these guys, we'll go to where he just gets up from the inside of this tombstone area here. Okay, so we gotta go ahead and grab the aggro on the other one. Oh. So we missed both parries there. Let me, I'm gonna tab out.